Jason here with Metal Mastermind. Guys, today we are going to go through the entire metal songwriting process, a step-by-step guide. Before we get started, I want you to know that you have it within you to write your own music, okay? You probably have already written several riffs. Maybe you've written some lyrics. Maybe you've got some melodies that you're humming and just kind of making up words to, that sort of thing. Wherever you're at, it doesn't matter. I want you to know that you have it within you. The fact that you play an instrument, that's a creative outlet, that's a creative intuition that you have. That is your evidence that you can write your own music. You can write your own songs. This is not a bunch of rules that you have to follow. In other words, as we're going through this process, you may decide at the end, well, I want to change some things around a little bit. Hey, you have the freedom to do that. The second thing I want to mention real quick, and then we'll get right into this because this is really exciting. I mean, I'm going to pick up the guitar. We're going to go behind the scenes on everything. Percussion, bass lines, lyrics, all that good stuff. This guide is not perfection, okay? Meaning that you still will come up on those times where it's like, crap, I can't seem to tie this riff or expand on it, or I'm hung up on these lyrics. I've got something else to help you with that, so that's going to be at the end of this video. Hang around for that. Most metal songs, not all, but the majority of them, I think it's safe to say, they start with what's called, you already know what this is, okay? But it starts with the riff. Now that could be just this cool single note riff. It could be a progression, okay? But it does start with the riff. So while we're talking about the riff, let's sit down and let's just come up with a riff. We're in the studio. Let's make up a riff. Now, what we want to do is just simply record it. So this is going to be quick. I'm just going to literally press record in my DAW here. Okay, so we've got a really cool riff to start with. Now, the next step in our process here, and this is something I recommend doing even before you expand on the riff or the progression. And look, if you're already writing the riff and something else is coming to you, go ahead and get it down, okay? Because you do want to record this stuff. You want to, even if you just put your phone in front of you and record yourself playing guitar or singing or whatever, hum that riff, you want to get that down. You want to capture that somehow, okay? So if you start expanding on this, that's fine, but my next step, or your next step rather, I want you to think about the percussion next, okay? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to write down two things here, okay? Tempo and drums. What this is going to help do is just establish the riff as the beginning of writing an actual song, because now we're starting to make something out of it. Let's jump in. We're back in the DAW. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna mute the track we recorded, okay? Because I'm not really gonna mess with that at all. You could actually delete it because we're about to record that track again, but we'll just mute it for now. I've got another track in here. You guys, I always pull up tracks. I always create tracks of the basic instruments that I'm going to use as soon as I do a new session to write a song. So let's turn on another guitar track. We're going to move to the BPM. In most DAWs, your default BPM will usually be set up as 120, right at 120 on a new session. I'm going to guess, I'm just going to throw in, I like odd numbers, so let's throw in 143, just random number there. I'm going to turn the click on so that we can hear it, okay? I've got the other track recorded muted because I don't want to hear that. What I'm going to do is play this riff along with this click track here just to see how it sounds. Not recording anything, let's just go. I can already tell you that's too slow. That's a lot slower than what I want. So I like to move up in increments of 10 unless I'm way off. You know, I don't want it that much faster. 153, and let's try 155. Let's see how that works. So all I'm going to do is just play the click track. Okay, that's almost perfect. And you can always go back and change this if you want. You may decide later in the song you want to slow it down or speed it up a hair. We're going to stick with 155 for this purpose. What I do next, and tempo and this whole percussion thing all kind of works together here. I'm going to use a drum program. I'm using Toontrack's Easy Drummer here. You can use whatever you have. Your DAW may have some beats in there. I just like to start establishing some sort of beat so that I'm not recording to click, 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 click as I build out the song here. So I'm using Toontrack's Easy Drummer. I've got a couple different libraries here that I purchased, some packs. The Metal Machine, there's a pack called Death Metal Pack, which I love to use that even for rock, both rock and metal. It just kind of works. So I'm going to find some patterns that are very close to what I kind of hear in my head. And guys, we're not building out drums here. I'm just using loops for this purpose. So I love double bass. Let's click on this one. Yeah, I'm fascinated with double bass. Let's just go with that, okay? Again, when the real drummer gets a hold of this, they're going to change it, okay? We're just laying the foundation, just laying the basic idea. So I just dragged a loop into the drum track there. Let's count it off and let's record this rhythm piece or this riff to this drum pattern here. We've got the riff, we've got our tempo established, and remember, this tempo could change. You may decide to speed it up at some point, or you may want to slow it down. This can always change along the way. Remember, what we're doing here is really just a draft of what is to come for the final product. We also have some drums in there, and also with drums, you may send this to your actual drummer to record real drums. This is just establishing an idea for the riff, okay? This is just kind of getting down on paper or in the studio in this case, just getting down the basic draft, okay? What I like to do next is kind of go back to the riff at this point because we've got a really good foundation here with the riff, the tempo, and the drums. What I like to do is expand on what? I want to start expanding on this riff. Now we're going to jump back into the studio. I'm going to show you something really cool that you can do with what we already have down for the drums, and this is going to help us better expand on this riff. This is where things get really creative, and this is when you really start building out your song. So two approaches you can take to this, okay? Again, these drum patterns, these loops I'm putting in here, I'm not going to use those. A real drummer is going to come back and record the real drums, okay? Now, I may rearrange things a little bit because I might have certain ideas and find other loops that fit certain parts of the song better. That's fine, you can do that. But for the sake of simplicity, what I'll do is I'll just duplicate that drum track. Now, sometimes I might just continue to duplicate that drum track for like 3 or 4 minutes. That way I've got this metal drum pattern to continue writing riffs to. So let's keep it simple for now. I just duplicated that track one time, and I'm just going to mess around and try to come up with some type of rhythm, other rhythm that goes along with the riff that we wrote. So let's try something. Now, in this case, what you might want to do is you might want to create a new guitar track. A lot of times I'll create multiple tracks here because I'll write ideas and I might not want to delete the initial idea because remember, we recorded that one riff to the initial little drum pattern, the loop there, okay? Well, I want to keep that. I don't necessarily want to delete it, but I'm going to replay it again on this, and I'm going to try to come up with something else that, sort of fits that. Let's see what we can come up with here. Ready? All right, now I could have kept going on that. Again, a lot of times I'll just duplicate the drum track all the way out 3 or 4 minutes and then just continue writing. And I just came up with some chord progressions. My thought process is the riff had some movement to it, okay? That may or may not be the intro of the song. I don't know yet. Again, we're just building out ideas at this point, but the riff had some movement, so a lot of times, me personally, you don't have to do this. I like to have some contrast, so I figured, well, let me just go to some power chords for this next part and just, and let those ring out. Now, I might go back later and add some movement to those power chords. I may throw that out and do something completely different, but this is just part of the process. So you see how easy it is to take that initial riff, add a tempo, add a little bit of drums to it. You see how easy it is to take that and start expanding on it. You can really start building out the song. At this point, what I like to do is I like to start thinking about the vocals and the vocal melodies, or the lyrics rather, and the vocal melodies. So let's start putting in lyrics and melodies. My handwriting's getting a little messy here. Now, if it's just an instrumental song or album that you're writing, you may want to replace that with the guitar melodies. So we'll just kind of put another line down here. Guitar melodies. Okay, so you can start kind of working this out. Before we jump into this, the reason why I put the lyrics and the vocal melodies, turning those lyrics into melodies that fit your riffs that you're writing, the reason why I like to put it as close to the beginning as possible is for those of you who you play the guitar, you're the songwriter, you're playing the instrument, and you're singing. Well, you want to make sure that you're able to sing these vocal melodies along with the riffs that you're writing. And I'm saying this from personal experience. My 2019 album Masterpiece, I wrote all of the instrumentation first. I had it all done, all polished, everything was set in stone. Then I went back and started writing lyrics to the album as I was listening to it. But then when I got to playing and singing it at the same time, well, I found there are a couple songs that have a couple parts I had a really tough time with. So if you can tackle that in the beginning phases here, instead of saving the vocals and melodies to the end, it's just going to work out in your favor. So let's open up a vocal track. Now, I'm not going to get into the plugins and all that stuff. What I typically do is I'll just add a track here. We'll name it Vox. I guess it says Vox, but hey, tomato, tomato. So we got a vocal track here. What I'll typically do, and most DAWs have like some kind of vocal chain, I will just pull something in. So I'll go to my inserts here and I'll just pull in, I'll find vocals, and I've probably got something saved. Let's see, we've got Studio One, male rock vocals, and we got a fat channel. The fat channel sounds cool. We'll go with the male rock vocals. Again, guys, this stuff will change later. Don't worry about this so much right now. And these plugins and effects, you can adjust them. You can take them all off. This is more stuff to really be focused on when you get to the mixing part, which we actually have a course on that. Nick Z teaches metal mixing. I'm actually going through that myself for a new album that I'm working on. I'll drop a link to that course in the description of this video, along with some other good stuff for you too, so do check that out after this video. We're just going to lay down some basic vocals here, guys. We recorded the riff to a beat. We've got our BPM, and we're just going to lay something down. I'm gonna make something up. I have no idea what we're gonna sing. We're just gonna make it up, okay? Can you see behind these eyes? Turn the pages up. Okay, I probably should have warmed up my voice before trying to do this, but I didn't. Anyway, the example that we're setting here is just how you can start building out your tracks at this point. So you can take everything, and we've got more to go, so we're not done yet, but you can take everything we've done up to this point here and just replicate it, okay? We have the riff. We came up with a BPM. We've got a basic drum pattern, right? We built upon that riff and establish the beat across that as well. So you can just keep duplicating this processes for new riffs, new patterns, new progressions, and of course, new vocals and melodies. We're really starting to establish something here. So the next thing I want to throw in is we want to put some bottom end in the song here. So hey, let's start tracking the bass. Let's start coming up with some bass ideas. Now, I want to reiterate, this is a rough draft. as you're writing these parts, that initial riff, okay, as you're getting the tempo down, the draft drum track that you will probably do something different with later, the expansion, the lyrics, the melodies, the bass line, all of this is just a rough draft. These are all subject to change a little. The idea is that we're getting that draft down. Now, it may not change, okay? I don't want you to create more work than what's needed. You might write these initial drafts here and you might decide, hey, you know what? I like this. But at some point you may want to re-record certain things to just polish it up and just clean it up a bit, because as you're writing these rough drafts, well, sometimes, well, they can be a little rough. Now, real quick, of course, you're going to ask, what are you using for bass? So I've got this plugin, and Metal Mastermind is not affiliated with these folks at all, but it's called Studio Devil Virtual Bass Amp Pro. Probably something you've never heard of before, but I find it to be a pretty cool plugin. So in any case, that's what I'm using. But the idea is just to start really building that foundation of the song. Okay, so let's just record a bass track. I'm just going to try to wing it here the best I can. So there's a basic bass track for you guys, and again, this is just a condensed part of the process here. We tried to condense this down, otherwise it would be like probably a 2-hour long video. But we've got the bass established for this part of the song here, and again, the bass that's part of that foundation. Now the next, and this is just one of the final pieces that I like to add to my songs, I like to start working on the guitar solos at this point. We've already got the song kind of built out, or at least we've got some momentum going, okay, building the song out. So you can start throwing in some things like guitar solos. If you've got keyboards you want to throw in there. Now, if the keys, we didn't talk about keys, and I apologize to you keyboard players out there because that's very important, but if your song or album does have some dominant keys in there, well, of course, you'll want to start working on the keys along with the riffs because that's part of the core rhythms. But in any case, we're down here, we've got the song built out. We want to add some guitar solos in there, so, well, let's do that real quick. Now, before you record a guitar solo, you would have already established your rhythm for that solo, and of course, the drum loop that we're throwing down here, and the bass track for that, right? But again, we did a very condensed version of this songwriting guide, the process here. Otherwise, it would have been a super long video. Hey, if you guys want a super long video, let us know in the comments. What I'm going to do really quickly, though, is I'm just going to kind of go back through these processes very quickly just to record this guitar solo. So what do? The easy way, well, we just duplicate that drum track, right? Okay, I'll pick up the guitar where it left off here on the rhythm right before those vocals ended there, and hey, we'll just make something up. Let's see what we can make up here. Okay, rhythm's done, and now let's just lay down a bass track really quickly here, okay? Alright, bass track, not perfect, but the idea is done. Let's record a quick little guitar solo here. Now got a really solid rough draft of a song. This is something that you can really start working on. Remember, this is a draft. You can start going back and making changes. For example, when you hire your drummer or have the drummer in your band, lay down the real drum tracks, well, you might find some riffs or some bass lines that you want to change a little bit. So now it's all about gluing everything together, just kind of like making everything fit. Going through this process that should be pretty seamless for the most part. Now, again, we do get hung up on things like, oh, I can't figure out what to do next with this riff or this progression. I need a bridge, for example, right? Or maybe you're hung up on lyrics or the vocal melodies. You can't seem to come up with a really cool melody that fits that riff. What I want to invite you to check out, guys, we have a complete songwriting course, Metal Songwriters course called Metal Songwriters Forge. I'll throw a link to that course in the description of this video here, of the YouTube video here. So hey, check that out. That's really going to help you kind of take everything we went over to that next level and really finish that song, see it through to completion. So hey guys, if this helped you, please give this video a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed to the Metal Mastermind YouTube channel. Our #1 goal is just to create an awesome community of metal musicians, which we already have that. So thank you so much for being a part of it. If you've watched this far into the video, hey, we truly appreciate you. And if you have any questions about the process here, if there's anything you'd like to add, hey, throw those in the comment section below. We'd love to hear it. Guys, until the next video, as always, create your own sound.